was a little delayed, but Gavin Williams' breakout might be happening. Welcome into Fantasy Baseball today on Thursday, August 7th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White. Today on the show, we have buy or sell for a bunch of pitchers. The Blue Jays will not stop destroying the Rockies. They put up 45 runs in a 3-game series. That is incredible. And we had some returns. Spencer Arrighetti, not so good. Nestor Cortez and Cade Cavalli, all right, a little bit more interesting. Let's jump in.
Oh, my goodness. Holy cow. Do you believe it?
Do you believe in miracles? Because Gavin Williams took a no-hitter into the 9th inning at the New York Mets, where he came, he gave up a hit with 2 outs left in the game. Unfortunately, his final line, 8 2/3 innings, 1 hit, 1 run, 4 walks, 6 strikeouts, had 14 whiffs on 126 pitches here. And, he's been tinkering with the pitch mix all season. He's been trying to figure it out. He threw more curves and sinkers in this one. It was a recipe that worked. Those are good pitches for him this season. The sweeper, the curve, the sinker in particular have been probably his 3 best pitches. So, again, kind of tinkering to see what works. And eventually, we are kind of getting there for Gavin Williams, who has 4 starts in the second half now with a 1.30 ERA and a .83 whip. He's getting ground balls, limiting hard contact, and best of all, he's not walking as many people. He had 4 walks in this one, but leading up to the start, the walks have been much better. Scott, is it happening? Is it finally happening for Gavin Williams?
Maybe. I don't know. I wish there was something other than the top line performance that I could point to and say, aha, here's what he's doing differently. You have mentioned the curveball use has been up some lately. So, playing off his sweeper, which is his best swing and miss pitch, maybe that's a good strategy. You mentioned the control has been better. Yeah, for the first 4 of those 6 starts. There's a 6-start stretch you gave, right?
I gave just the 4 starts in the second half. I know he had a few okay starts before that.
Yeah.
The walks were still bad in those.
Right. Okay. So he had a couple good starts coming out of the break where the walks were lower. But his last 2 starts, just a 60% strike rate for Gavin Williams. It was really bad. I mean, that's like bottom of the league, at least as far as qualifiers go. So I can't sit here and say, oh, yeah, Gavin Williams, he solved the control problem, and that's why. It's been a bunch of, I don't know. It's searching for an answer. Honestly, I need to explain what's going on with Gavin Williams. So maybe I could hit the strike thing. Maybe I could hit the pitch selection thing. And I'm just not seeing anything that's convincing enough for me. He's always had a ton of talent, obviously. I mean, this was an elite pitching prospect who's had plenty of breakout, plenty of believers since he got called up, plenty of people who thought he was on the verge of breaking out. So maybe it's happening just because it was always destined to happen. But because I don't really know how to explain it, I'm going to remain a little bit skeptical. I'm not saying you can't start him or you shouldn't start him, but I'm just not totally on board yet with Gavin Williams.
Mm-hmm. And I don't want people to call me out for flip-flopping here because I think it was maybe a month ago. I think I told people that Gavin Williams was droppable, and somebody reminded me of that on Twitter today. But I will point out that as recently as July 11th, Gavin Williams did have a 143 whip and over 5 walks per 9 at that point with a 485 FIP. So he was pitching pretty terribly up to that point in the season, but we know he is someone who has a lot of pedigree, lots of talent. It was just a matter of him figuring it out, and he is kind of figuring it out right now. Where do we go from here is the question, because he's still rostered in a lot of leagues, only 56% started, but he threw 126 pitches in this start, Scott. So, gets the Marlins the next time out. They have hit better. Obviously, their offense has been, much better over the last month or two. But I'm kind of interested to see, how does Gavin Williams look coming off a 126 pitch outing? What do you think?
I know. I got to admit, I'd be kind of reluctant to start him. Some leagues that are on the deeper end where it's a struggle just to fill out your pitching staff every week. Okay, obviously, I think Gavin Williams has earned the right to start regardless of the circumstances in that format. But the kind of leagues that most people listening play in, where you're kind of swapping out pitchers every week based on matchups and recent performance. I don't know. I might let Williams sit this one out, if only for the pitch count. It's not often these days that anybody throws 126 pitches, but it is. It has kind of. It's been an effective strategy in recent years. Usually in a situation like this, when a pitcher threatens or actually completes a no-hitter, and the manager, lets him go a little further than he should to make that happen, it's generally been a good strategy to sit him the next time out.
Yeah, I probably agree with that as well. I think more importantly, you should just be happy that you have Gavin Williams on your team if you held on to him, because as of now, it looks like he is turning things around here in the second half. Scott, over to you for your player of the night.
I think I got to go Cade Cavalli here. He made his long-awaited return to the majors. It was his second career start, his first coming way back in 2022. And a lot of injuries since then, including Tommy John surgery, but that wasn't the only one. Cade Cavalli has been a walking infirmary, and you can understand why he's only now getting his major league start at age 26. The stat line on its own, you're just looking in the box score. Okay, he threw 4 1/3 scoreless innings, struck out 6. That's pretty good, but maybe not as big of an eye-opener as the fact that he had 19 whiffs on 88 pitches, including 5 on the fastball, 8 on the curveball, 5 on the changeup. I mean, the Athletics just could not touch him for only the fact he only threw 4 1/3 innings. I mean, it was very impressive. But part of what made it so unexpected for Cade Cavalli is you look at what he was doing at AAA prior to this promotion. He had a 6.09 ERA there, a 155 WHIP. And it's not like things had turned around recently. You look at the game log, it's pretty awful. So I see these 19 whiffs for Cade Cavalli. I see the sudden effectiveness here. The fact his fastball peaked at 100 miles per hour, averaged 97.3. It's all very impressive, but that velocity on, basically all 3 of his pitches that he has been throwing since that 2022 debut that he was throwing in the minors this year, basically they were all up 1.5 miles per hour. So it kind of reminds me of, remember Mick Abel's major league debut earlier this season where he just flat out dominated, and it's like, whoa, where was this guy in the minors? Mm-hmm. I wonder if Cade Cavalli was just amped up for this start and had extra juice on all of his pitches because of it, and that's what made him more effective. So obviously it bears watching. He is a former prospect before all the injuries.
Former first-round pick, yeah.
Former first-round pick. But it wouldn't surprise me if Cade Cavalli dropped off in his next start. And unless I just was really having to strain to fill out my pitching staff and just desperate for some kind of upside play, I'd probably leave Cade Cavalli alone.
I think he's mostly a scout team watch list kind of guy in most standard size leagues. Deeper leagues, I might take a shot and add him just to see what comes after this start. Looks like he's in line for 2 starts next week, but you're not starting Cade Cavalli, obviously. Just kind of a stash to see what happens here. You read off the numbers in the minors. They were really bad. Walks in particular, big problem for him. There was some good, though. I mean, 10K per 9, 55% ground ball rate. So there are some skills here for Cavalli. I don't remember him really having a legit 3-pitch mix, but at least based on this start, like he had 3 legit whiff pitches. So very, very interesting.
And there was a sinker that was new. That wasn't around to 2022, but yeah, I mean, just the fact his velocity was up that much across the board when that wasn't happening for him at AAA prior to this promotion. That's what makes me the most skeptical.
I am intrigued. That is the word I will give there on Cade Cavalli. Josh Naylor won't stop, man. I just had to bring this up. Another huge game for Naylor where he goes 2 for 3 with a sock and 2 shoes. That's right. 2 more steals for Josh Naylor. That's back-to-back 2 steal games. He has 10 steals in 12 games with the Mariners and is up to 21 this season. At this point, Scott, I just want to see how far it can go. Can we get Josh Naylor with 30 steals by the end of the season? I mean, it might happen before the end of August, but can we get it by the end of the season? That might be the most improbable. I mean, it already kind of is at 20 steals. But
yeah, it's
30
it's
steals. Imagine we get 30 steals out of Josh Naylor. My God.
How much time do we have left? We have this is the 20th week of 27.
I think we have like just under 50 games left.
He'd have to average more than a steal a week. I'll take the under on 30, but
25, even 25.
You've already banked so many with Josh Naylor.
Oh my God.
You're already playing with house money there in the stolen base category.
Crazy.
I don't think you could complain.
Baseball.
Even if he gives you 0, I mean, you're thrilled with what he's doing.
Of course. I want to see how far it can go.
I mean, beyond the 2 steals he had, that home run was a tank. Did you see that? 450 feet.
Oh, I didn't see how far it went. No.
Yeah, it was a tank.
Very nice. Yeah, you know what? Facing the White Sox, that will help with the home runs. But, he's been running on everyone. So definitely give credit where it's due to Josh Naylor. And to the Blue Jays, man, I mentioned this up top. 45 runs scored in a 3-game series. Yes, it's in Coors Field. But you know what? Other teams play in Coors Field. They don't put up 45 runs. This Blue Jays lineup is on fire right now. Vlad Jr., 4 for 7 with his 18th homer. Bo Bichette, 2 for 6 with his 16th home run. How about these numbers in the second half, Scott? Bo Bichette, 382, 4 homers, all right, but 25 RBI, 1033 OPS. That is awesome stuff there for Bichette. Ernie Clement, 4 for 7 with his 6th homer. He is 43% rostered. He's got every infield position eligibility outside of catcher. Who would you rather have on your bench, Scott?
Bichette or Clement? Is that what you're going to ask me?
What's that?
Bichette or Clement?
No.
Okay.
I think I have something more compelling than that. Would you rather have Clement or Lennon Sosa as a kind of bench utility guy that you can move around with? Lennon Sosa hit another home run, by the way.
Yeah, Sosa has more power. It's not just what he's done in the majors this year. It was apparent in his minor league track record, too. I wasn't sure he'd ever amount to much just because he wasn't highly regarded as a prospect, but he was productive in the minors. The StatCast data looks solid for him this year. Not very good plate discipline at all. That's the biggest drawback for Sosa. But I sort of buy what he's doing, while Clement is more of a defensive standout with really good contact skills. And that's more valuable in real life than fantasy, I would say.
All right, and then Davis Schneider went 3 for 7 with a double dong. Don't really think it matters for fantasy just because his playing time is so sporadic. He plays every other game, sometimes every third game. So big game for Schneider and the Blue Jays, but I don't think he in particular matters for fantasy. Before we hit our first break, big thanks to those watching live. I realized we went live pretty late here, so we do appreciate you hanging out. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe here on YouTube as well. Let's take a break, and we'll be back right after this. Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today, and let's run through the news and notes. Aaron Judge could return to playing the outfield, quote, sometimes towards the weekend or early next week. And that is according to John Morosi. So, look, it worries me to death as a Yankee fan that they might be pushing this thing a little bit too quickly here, but it would be good news for Giancarlo Stanton and getting him back in the lineup. So, we shall see.
It's the same timeline they've been giving all along, too, both in terms of when he came off the IL and when he was projected to return to the outfield. So I guess you could see that as a reason for optimism, just that he keeps hitting all the markers and doesn't give them reason to say, well, let's slow play this a little bit. But I get you. I mean, like, I know Stanton's been great so far, but they have an outfield surplus, and they could occasionally stick him out there if they really wanted his bat. I mean, why would you risk this with Judge, your franchise player, an all-time great at this point? I don't think it's a stretch to say. And the only chance you have of making the postseason still.
Yeah. And, God forbid you throw him out there and he kind of makes this forearm or elbow injury worse, Aaron Judge. It could affect his availability for next season as well. So, I mean, it's just pretty scary all around there. So, play it safe, man. Let's not rush Judge back into the outfield. Zach Wheeler's next start will be pushed back from Friday to Sunday while he manages shoulder stiffness. He did go for an MRI, which came back negative. Obviously, anytime you see a shoulder with a pitcher, it's worrisome. I feel like we've heard shoulder things pop up for Wheeler here and there, and most of the time he just kind of bounces back fine. So I'm going to assume that's the case for now for Zach Wheeler. Yordan Alvarez took batting practice on the field Tuesday. Last we heard is he was targeting a mid-August return, but who knows? Roman Anthony agreed to an 8-year, $130 million contract extension with the Red Sox. The deal will go into effect in 2026 and includes escalators that could take the maximum value up to $230 million. It's always kind of difficult to kind of judge these early extensions for players that are so young into their career, especially, someone like Roman Anthony, who was the top prospect in baseball, and he's already hitting well, and we all, expect him to get even better over the next couple of seasons. So we'll see how it plays out. I don't know if you have any thoughts on the number or anything else that stands out for this extension.
No, I hadn't looked into the escalators. I don't know how easily achieved those are because I don't know what they are specifically, but 230, if he does reach that maximum value, that's kind of a eyebrow raiser for a deal given to a player this early into his time in the majors. Because what you have to remember in a situation like this, yes, we don't know what Roman Anthony's going to become. So that is one issue, one potential hurdle there is it's a gamble on the Red Sox part, a gamble on a really high-end prospect with great skills. And so obviously they think it's a winning gamble, but that is not the extent of the incentive for them, the incentive that they're buying him in for a lower price here. The reason why it works for the other side is the first 3 years of Anthony's career, he's going to be essentially free. So he's going to be making basically the minimum amount before arbitration starts. And even in arbitration, the salary is suppressed. So they're giving him more money for those years where he's making a lot more money, for those years where he would be making essentially nothing. And then the hope for the Red Sox is that on the back end of that deal, he's a bargain, a relative bargain to the type of player he'll be at that point.
Mm-hmm. And you lock it in now before we get a potential lockout in 2027, right? So I know people don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it, but we'll have to have the conversation at some point, Scott, because kind of looks like we could be headed that way in a couple of years. Chris Sale will throw a live batting practice on a Thursday. He continues to rehab from a fracture in his left rib cage. Cole Reagans remains on track with his throwing progression and has increased his throwing distance off flat ground to 120 feet. Byron Buxton resumed hitting on Tuesday and could return within a few days. He's on the IL with left rib cage inflammation. Aaron Nola built up to 69 pitches in his latest rehab start. Nice. On Wednesday, he allowed 1 run over 3 2/3 innings with 6 strikeouts at AAA. So I don't know. He's already up around 70. Maybe it's like 1 or 2 more outings and we get Aaron Nola back. Tanner Scott completed a bullpen on Tuesday, his first time throwing off a mound since he landed on the IL with left elbow inflammation. Tyro Estrada went back on the IL, this time with a right hamstring strain. Christian Javier is in position to make his season debut with the Astros next week. In 5 rehab starts, he has a 5.14 ERA, a 179 whip, 15 strikeouts to 15 walks over 14 innings. Mathematician. No, that doesn't sound very good. 20% roster. Scott, any interest in stashing or adding Christian Javier?
He is in my IL stash rankings, the latest top 50 that came out on the site Wednesday, but he's pretty low, especially for as late as we are in the year, as many players have been ruled out for the year. I'm just double checking where he is in that top 50. He's 34th. That's higher than I thought, but certainly not among the high priority stashes. During that stretch in the minors, his swinging strike rate is only 10%, which I think is more telling, even than the top line result. So in the years prior to Tommy John surgery, Christian Javier was falling off pretty hard in fantasy. It just seemed like his fastball didn't have that same swing and miss ability at the top of the zone that made Christian Javier a standout to begin with. And you might have held out some hope that, okay, his elbow, who knows the extent of his elbow leading up to this Tommy John surgery, who knows the extent of the damage, what he may have been pitching through. But seeing him return and not missing bats still against minor league hitters, I don't know. I think that's pretty discouraging.
And Gerard Encarnacion is heading back to the IL with a right hamstring strain. Bad news for him. Two games in a row he got a chance to play, and he homered in both. He actually homered here on Wednesday, but pulled up lame running to first base. So hamstring strain there for Gerard Encarnacion. Speaking of that name, Scott, have you seen Nacho Libre, the movie?
I have not.
Oh, I mean, it's not, one of the best movies of all time, but it's
no, you don't think so?
It's another, corny, cheesy comedy. So, it's right up my alley.
Nacho Libre. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a song in there where he sings Encarnacion. It's a great scene. IMO, in my opinion. Before we get into other stuff, let's get to the dog of the week. Now it's time for the dog of the week segment, brought to you by Boehringer Ingelheim, the maker of NexGard Plus, afoxolaner, moxidectin, and parental chewable tablets used with caution in dogs with a history of seizures or neurologic disorders. Ask your vet if NexGard Plus is right for your dog. Scott, I'm sorry to bring up this name, dog of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Spencer Strider. Very rough outing here against the Brew Crew, who, man, they are one of, if not the best team in baseball right now. 4 2/3 innings, 11 hits, 5 runs, 2 homers allowed here for Strider. The good, he was still able to generate whiffs. He had 15 whiffs in this one. Slider had 13 of those 15 whiffs. The bad is that his fastball had nothing, despite the velocity being up a little bit. And his slider got hit really hard, man. This hard contact allowed has been just such a huge issue for Spencer Strider thus far. And, his last 2 starts before this were kind of underwhelming. And then obviously this one was flat out bad. I had Strider as part of the buy or sell for later on, but what do you think about this? Strider is not a must-start pitcher rest of season. Do you buy or sell that?
I buy it in the strictest sense that he's not a must-start pitcher. There are weeks, particularly if you have a good pitching staff, where you might want to sit him. The root of the hard hits, the root of him having these just not so great outings, despite still having an elite swinging strike rate. I mean, he's still one of the best at generating whiffs on the whole. The root of it is the fastball, as you mentioned. So Strider's slider is still elite. It is still one of the best of its kind, but he needs something other than the slider. And peak Strider had one of the most dominant fastballs in baseball too. It's not purely a velocity thing. What made Strider's fastball so dominant during his best season, 2023, was the induced vertical break on it was over 18 inches. I mean, it was elite. So it had the optimal movement for a fastball in the modern game to generate those swings and misses at the top of the zone, hitters swinging under it. That is what a dominant fastball looks like, leaving velocity out of it. It's down to like 16 inches of induced vertical break this year, much more in the ordinary spectrum. So that whiff rate on the fastball, which was 29% in 2023, elite whiff rate for a fastball, it's only 17% this year, which is not good. So Strider still gets the big whiff number because nobody can touch that slider, but he needs more than the slider. And the fastball, it just doesn't have it. So I don't know if that's going to change. I don't know if that's something he can improve in between starts. He's going to have to go, I think, back to the drawing board this offseason, figure out how to get that old movement on the fastball, that old shape, that shape that made it such a dominant pitch. Or he's going to have to figure out how to flesh out his arsenal otherwise, because there's just nothing to go with the slider right now.
Yeah, no, that's a great call on the fastball here too. I pulled up his profile on the Pitcher List website, and back in 2023, Strider's PLV, which is kind of this all-encompassing pitch metric, was in the 100th percentile. It was one of, if not the best fastball in all of baseball. And so far this season, entering the start, it was in the 47th percentile. So all the things you pointed out, the pitch characteristics, the IVP, it's way down from where it was a couple years ago. So we kind of need to see the progression now of Strider as a pitcher. I mean, there has to be something else involved here. I don't know if that's adding in a cutter, if it's a sinker, if it's a changeup, whatever it has to be. But we need another pitch here, because I don't think that he can succeed with two pitches if one of those pitches is just not elite. So,
cutter, splitter, maybe,
yeah.
Although that might not be the greatest for his elbow. He was, prior to 2024, obviously he got injured early in 2024, but that curveball was looking pretty impressive in spring training. I know there was a lot of enthusiasm for Strider over that curveball, and he's just not really focused on it this year. So that could help too. But yeah, he needs a fuller arsenal, or he needs to get his old fastball shape back, or preferably both. Both would be, both might get him back to ace standing. Right now, though, I would say he is a volatile pitcher with big strikeout upside.
Yeah, I think that's fair. 89% started on CBS for Strider. I kind of feel like you still have to throw him out as a 2-start pitcher next week. He's at the Mets and at the Guardians. Mets kind of a hit or miss matchup. Sometimes they show up, sometimes they don't. At the Guardians, they don't really strike out much, but it's not like a terribly tough lineup. I feel like you probably still have to throw him out there for 2, right, Strider?
I think so. I think even in roto leagues, I would, for the strikeout upside, and because that Cleveland matchup is so favorable.
All right, that was the Dog of the Week segment, brought to you by Boehringer Ingelheim, the maker of NexGard Plus, Afoxolaner, Moxidectin, and parental chewable tablets. They provide next-level parasite protection against fleas, ticks, heartworm disease, roundworms, and hookworms, all in a tasty beef-flavored soft chew. Used with caution in dogs with a history of seizures or neurologic disorders. Dogs should be tested for existing heartworm infection prior to starting a preventive. Ask your vet about NexGard Plus chews. Let's talk some waiver wire hitters here, Scott. And another day, another homer from Andrew Vaughn. His 12th home run, and his updated numbers with the Brewers, hitting .377 with 7 home runs, 28 RBI, and OPS over 1,100. And he still is not universally rostered. So at 69% rostered, that should change. Please, anyone out there listening, if he's in your league, go pick up Andrew Vaughn. Another strong game for Luke Keeschel, 2 for 5 with 2 doubles, 3 RBI. 2 games since coming off the IL. He's got 4 hits, 1 homer, 6 RBI. In the 9 games he's played, he's 11 for 28. He's got 1 homer, 5 doubles, 5 walks, 5 steals, 45% rostered. I know it's our job, Scott, not to overreact. I kind of just want to overreact about Luke Keeschel, man. I'm like all in. I almost want to call him a must roster player as well, along with Andrew Vaughn.
He was one of my favorite prospects coming into the year, kind of a pet prospect, because I felt like I liked him more than his ranking. And then he came up and had immediate results. We did talk a little bit about where he should rank among second basemen, and I had the most conservative ranking of the 3 of us. I've since moved him up some, in part because I didn't find my own argument convincing yesterday when we got into it. And part of why I think I had him ranked more conservatively is I just didn't trust the Twins to play him every day. Because if you'll remember, when he came up earlier in the year, he was pretty much just DHing. I think he made a couple of appearances at second base, but defense is a weak point for Luke Keeschel. So it's sort of like Edward Julian when he was just coming up. He playing second base because you're trying to hide his defense there. And so I wondered if that might impact Keeschel's playing time, even with the Twins in their reduced state. But that doesn't seem to be the case. It seems like they're just going to give him plenty of run here. And yeah, I'm excited about the possibilities for Luke Keeschel.
Yeah, I am going to update the infield and outfield rankings. I updated pitching here on Wednesday. So I'll do that on Thursday, but just eyeballing it, I think I'm going to get him up to 16th in the second base rankings, Luke Keeschel. So that would be just ahead of Otto Lopez, Luis Ariz, Luis Garcia, Bryson Stott, Matt McClain, guys like that. So Otto Lopez, I think, is still fine. He's like kind of slowed down a little bit. And I think there's just more upside with someone like Keeschel.
Yeah. So I have Keeschel 20th in Roto now. Ariz, Otto Lopez, Xander Bogaerts, Jackson Holiday are the four ahead of him. I am so close to moving him ahead of all those four, and maybe even Brendan Donovan, who's the next one up.
Bogaerts has actually been good for a while, so but
I feel
all right about him, but yeah, all those other names I think are okay.
I don't want to get caught up in streaks, you know. I think Bogaerts is pretty fringe at this point.
Fair.
So I could get Keeschel as high as 15th. I think can't put him ahead of Can't put him ahead of Xavier Edwards. I don't feel like, who had another huge game here on Wednesday. He's batting.
I agree with that.
330 since the start of June. But yeah, potentially right behind him. If you want him over Jackson Holiday, because particularly in a shallower league, I think that's totally fine.
Kobe Mayo, 2 for 4 with a 3-run homer off of Ranger Suarez. 108.5 exit velocity, 421 feet. Very impressive here for Mayo, who, over his last 30 games, he's looked better. It's still not, it doesn't like blow you away. 256, 4 homers, 791 OPS, 29% roster. I still think it's mostly deeper leagues that have a corner infielder, more like a stash on your bench to see what happens. And one other name here, Ryan Jeffers, has been hitting better. 2 for 4 with a double, a run, and an RBI. Last 21 games, he's hitting 355, but only 2 homers during that stretch. The playing time is up. I don't know, Scott, how you feel about Ryan Jeffers maybe as like a 2-catcher league ad?
Yeah, I think he's fine in 2-catcher leagues. He is below. So the list of usable catchers in a 1-catcher league exceeds 12. It probably goes as deep as like 17 or 18. And so Jeffers is outside of that 17 or 18, but 12-team 2-catcher leagues, that probably still needs to be rostered in those formats. And at 38%, I think he probably is. By the way, Kobe Mayo needed this game, I feel like, because he had been 2 for 16 since the Ryan O'Hearn trade that opened up a spot for him. He was kind of blowing it. And then he has the big game here. It's going to be really interesting when Ryan Mountcastle comes back, which is going to happen Friday, I believe. And he's looked great on his rehab assignment. They have a spot for him. DH is basically open. They've been cycling different players through it. So they can play Mayo and O'Hearn. I mean, Mayo and Mountcastle. They can have them both in the lineup at the same time. But then August 15th, it's not that far away. August 15th is the day Baseball Prospectus says Samuel Basallo, the Orioles' top prospect, can come up. And as long as they keep his at-bats below 131, he'll retain, as long as they wait until August 15th and keep his at-bats below 131, he'll retain his rookie eligibility for next year. So I imagine it's going to happen. That's a little over a week from now. Basallo's up. He's in the mix. He's been killing it at AAA. He has split his time between first base and catcher. He's not really that good of a catcher. Could he back up Adley Rutschman, particularly in a year where the Orioles aren't contending? Sure, he could make a few appearances at catcher, but I think primarily he'll have to be part of that first base DH mix. So if Mayo isn't going strong then, or I suppose if Mountcastle isn't, they may find the playing time lacking down the stretch.
All right, some deep league names here. Going to quickly run through. Alan Roden hit his first home run with the Twins. He has started 4 of 6 games since coming over at the deadline. Heriberto Hernandez. Who is this guy? He plays for the Marlins, 2 for 3 with his 6. Looking at his minor league profile, there's definitely lots of power here, but also lots of swing and miss. Jacob Marcy keeps making things happen, 1 for 4 with a walk and his first steal. And the Brewers outfielders, they just keep on hitting. Isaac Collins, 3 for 4 with a walk and his 13th steal. And Blake Perkins, 3 for 5 with his 3rd home run. Scott, any deep league interests here in Perkins, Collins, Marcy, Heriberto Hernandez, and Alan Roden?
I like Alan Roden. I don't think one good game with the Twins is enough for me to buy into him in fantasy, but I'm keeping a close eye on him. I think it's a good skill set, good plate discipline, good spray angle, at least in the minors, the kind that should optimize his power output to go along with all those walks that he should be getting. But, it's been a struggle for him as a rookie. We'll keep watching it. Marcy, we've talked about a lot. Jacob Marcy, he's obviously hit the ground running here. Another good on-base guy who's going to need to rely on angling the ball correctly off the bat to muster any power at the major league level, but he did in the minors, and he stole a ton of bases in the minors too. So I think Marcy is the most interesting right now for fantasy, with the exception of maybe Isaac Collins, who got to be part of the rookie of the year mix now. It's strange because he's 28 years old and never really registered as a prospect, but he's showing good on-base skills, just a really good all-around profile. Not really dominating in anything, but he'll give you a few homers. He'll give you a few steals. He gets on base at a really high rate. And it's been going on long enough that I think we need to take it seriously. And what's a good comp for him? Somebody who, I don't know, this is kind of old, but Nick Markakis type of profile, except with more speed, which Markakis had some early in his career. What's a more recent comp for that kind of player, though? Maybe.
Yeah, it is an interesting profile. It's kind of a tough one. It's a good OBP. Yeah. It's like okay power, but looks like pretty good speed. Yeah. I don't know. I'm blanking on that one. It's a unique player for sure. And his numbers in the second half too, man. He is hitting .391 with a .480 on base, 2 homers, 3 steals, a 1058 OPS. Like, he's doing it right now.
He is. Like, I almost wonder if there's a middle infielder with this kind of profile, just because you're not going to get a ton of power from him. The average exit velocity is pretty low, and there's not a lot of room for growth there since he's 28. Yeah, I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah.
Tough comp. I mean, is it Brendan Donovan with more speed? Is it? I don't know.
I don't have a good one there. Who would you take between Collins and Jacob Marcy as deeper 5 outfielder league names?
I think Marcy's the upside play, but Perkins. I'm sorry, Collins. Yeah, Isaac Collins. Blake Perkins is a different outfielder on the Brewers. So yeah, I think if you only had one shot at it, I might go Collins. I might play it safe, particularly in a deeper league scenario like that. But Marcy's the upside play because he could be really impactful in stolen bases.
All right, let's take our final break. When we return, I've got some waiver wire pitchers, buy or sell. We'll do all that right after this.
What's he like? The happy-faced killer?
You mean my dad? Be glad you never have to know.
You think that you're so much better than me.
You're just like your old man.
I'm not like you at all.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today. Waiver wire pitchers, 2 shallow league names here. Jeffrey Springs, a great outing at the Nationals. Their lineup is scuffling mightily right now. But Springs, 6 innings, 1 hit, 1 run, 5 strikeouts to 0 walks. Last 10 starts for Springs, he has a 2.93 ERA and a .89 whip. Just not really giving you many strikeouts at all. And Michael Wacha, very good outing at the Red Sox. 6 innings, 2 runs, 3 strikeouts. Last 5 for him, it's a 1.78 ERA with a 0.69 whip. Scott, both of these right around 75%. Who do you prefer between Springs and Waka?
The one with the better matchup. I think they're actually very similar for fantasy. They're good. They're good enough to start in any league, I feel like, but nobody trusts them because the strikeout rate isn't good. And we're rightfully suspicious of a pitcher who doesn't miss bats in the modern game. But certainly in Waka's case, it's been a multi-year success story here. So I think we can trust it. Not saying he's going to deliver a gem every time out. That certainly hasn't been the case this year. But the overall numbers now, 3.36 ERA, 1.15 whip. If you had put him in your lineup every week, I think you'd be pretty happy with where things stand right now. And then Springs, he had been a strikeout pitcher previous iterations as a starter, but basically since the start of May, he's been doing this. So I think we need to give Jeffrey Springs more credit too.
Yeah, and the matchups for next week, Jeffrey Springs looks like a 2-star pitcher against the Rays, revenge game, and he also gets the Angels, and then Waka gets the Nationals. So I like the matchups for both of those guys. If you want to maximize the volume, I could see going with Springs. I think that's fine. But Waka's pitching well, and really good matchup for him as well. Couple names here in medium-sized leagues. Cade Horton, another strong start, this time against the Reds. 5 2/3 shutout with 6 strikeouts. His scoreless streak is up to 23 1/3 innings. Jose Quintana, a quality start at the Braves. 6 innings, 3 runs with 7 strikeouts, 0 walks. And Nestor Cortez was just okay in his return. Also his Padres debut at the D-backs. 4 2/3 innings, 2 runs with 3 strikeouts. Velocity up a little bit on his pitches here. Again, that's Nestor Cortez. Scott, how would you rank this group? Cortez, Quintana, and Cade Horton.
I mean, I'd rather have both Waka and Springs. Their roster rates are higher, so maybe I'm not breaking new ground there. I think Quintana is exclusively a matchups type, and this was a good matchup for him. He was one of the pitchers I suggested streaming, if you'll remember. So maybe he had.
It looks like he gets the Pirates next week too. So
yeah, so another good one. Yeah. I mean, maybe that makes the case right there. Just think short term, go with him. The upside case, though, is obviously Cade Horton, and he's had a lot of success here recently with just the. You mentioned the scoreless streak he has going on. 10 hits in 22 2/3 innings during that 4-start scoreless streak. But the strikeouts have been low, and I feel like Cade Horton, despite this recent success, has avoided doing the obvious thing that would make him better, which is fading his fastball. He throws it about 50% of the time or even more. It's a bad pitch for him, that fastball. 328 batting average against, just a 13% whiff rate. His sweeper and changeup, 3rd and 4th pitch, they both have better than a 40% whiff rate. So, like, if it's something we see a lot from young pitchers, that just over reliance on his fastball when they have great secondary offerings, and often they eventually figure it out. Horton's been slow to come around. I suppose you could say that the success he's had in spite of that recently is all the more reason to like Horton long term. But personally, it makes me just a little suspicious of the success he's had recently. That's mainly what it does here in the short term.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. The sweeper and changeup are 2nd and 3rd most thrown pitch. I said 3rd and 4th, but they're great is the point.
And one thing I like what we've seen, he's gotten better as the season has gone along here. Would like more strikeouts, but they are starting to limit him a little bit. He's been held to 67 and 71 pitches, 2 starts in a row, and his innings are up to 108 1/3. Last year was just 34 1/3, and he does have an extensive injury history. So I do wonder if the Cubs are going to continue to kind of limit him a little bit here moving forward.
That's a good point too. Yeah,
that would make sense for Cade Horton. Well, I do like the pitcher. I think maybe we do get some shorter starts here down the stretch as well. All right, Scott, let's do a little buy or sell. And I got a lot of pitchers here to talk about. First up, Carlos Rodon continues to struggle with control, this time at the Rangers, where 5 innings, 2 runs. Okay, that's fine. But 4 walks to 3 strikeouts. he has 3+ walks in 5 of his last 7. And over his last 11 starts, 4.50 ERA, 132 whip, 4.4 walks per 9. And that's a pretty big chunk of the season now. That's 11 starts we're talking about for Rodon. So buy or sell, we got duped by Rodon's early season success.
I think I'm going to sell this for the most part. I'm looking back at the game log now. He was struggling with walks early in the season too. Like, April actually wasn't that good for him.
He went on a heater in May and June.
Yeah. So to the extent I'd buy it, it's that, he's basically an ace in fantasy. I'm buying the idea that he duped us to the extent that we were saying, oh, he's an ace, he's a top 20 pitcher in fantasy, whatever. He's probably not that. He's probably closer to where we ranked him to begin the season, but I'm still not that interested in sitting him. Still getting a ton of strikeouts. I think the walks is going to be a short-term issue. Not that control won't remain a problem for Rodon, but to the extent we've seen recently, that's not going to continue.
All right, next up, Ranger Suarez had a rough outing against the Orioles. 6 1/3 innings, 5 runs allowed, 3 walks, 0 strikeouts. He had 6 whiffs on 95 pitches. His velocity down again. This is now 4 starts in a row where the velocity is down. And during that stretch, it's a 5.79 ERA, a 1.46 whip. A lot of that damage did come in this game. But buy or sell, Scott, that this velo dip is concerning for Ranger Suarez.
Yeah, it's pretty much always concerning. So I had been holding out some hope because it's a 4-start stretch, right? With the velocity down. The first of those starts was terrible, but he also walked 4 in it. The second and third of those 4 starts, they were both great, and he was throwing strikes at a higher rate. So, okay, maybe he's purposely taking a little off so that the control doesn't get away from him. But what we saw in this start for Ranger Suarez is good control, walked nobody through 66% strikes, but he still struggled with that reduced velocity. So the sort of like optimistic case, the glass half full case for what he's doing would, it didn't pan out, at least this time. And given Ranger Suarez's history of having really dominant stretches followed by really severe struggles, I'd be pretty worried about him going forward.
All right, next up, we had another clunker from Jack Flaherty, this one against the Twins. And my gosh, Scott, I mean, the way you feel about Sonny Gray, I think that's how I feel about Jack Flaherty this year, because trying to figure him out, you can't. You just can't, because the last 2 starts before this, it's like 6 innings, 1 run, 6 shutout innings at the Phillies, right? And I was, all right, I had him on the bench, I think, for both of those. Get him back in the lineup against the Twins, and what happens? 4 2/3, 6 runs allowed, 5 of those earned, only 3 strikeouts, lots of hard contact in this one. And it's more of the same. It's his fastball and slider have regressed a lot. He really just has his curveball, which has been an above average pitch for him this season. It's been very, very frustrating. So buy or sell. Last year's Tigers success was an outlier for Jack Flaherty. Like, him being an ERA around 4.50 or over 4 is more the norm for Jack Flaherty and what we should expect.
I'm actually going to sell this one, because apart from the ERA, everything else that he gained from last year is kind of still there. Like, it's still a much better swinging strike rate than his last few years in St. Louis and that half year in Baltimore. It's still a much, much better K rate. Like, they have tapped into something here for Flaherty that's more than just a 1-year phenomenon. Now, maybe you're right that it's mostly just the curveball and there's not enough else going on there, sort of like we were saying with Strider and the slider. But even so, that, like, at least there's something to work with for Flaherty. And as frustrating as it was this this performance against a bad Twins lineup where you thought Flaherty'd come through. Previous 5 starts, 2.73 ERA, 12 K per 9. Like, you've been on a nice run. It's been frustrating, but I think Flaherty is. I think I see the talent in Flaherty. They're still good in him, as Mark Hamill once said about his fictional father. Spoiler alert.
I think the Strider comp is really good. He's just like a much worse version, right? This is just a volatile pitcher that gives you lots of strikeouts. That's basically where I'm at with Flaherty, but just to a much lesser degree than Spencer Strider here. Just the walks being up, the hard contact up, the barrel rate, home runs. It's just a recipe for disaster. So look, I know people are going to see 2 starts in the schedule next week at the White Sox, at the Twins, and you might be right to get him in there for that one. I'm going to be more cautious about it. I'm going to be very pick and choosy about where I play him. If I need to protect
the Twins and the White Sox, you said?
Yeah, I can't trust the pitcher, Scott. It's not like I don't care what the matchups are. This is more of about
how much can you trust any pitcher?
I don't know.
That you could pick up and start instead. Like if you're ranking 2-star pitchers, as I have the privilege of doing every week, you're going to pick some waiver guy with good matchups over Jack Flaherty? Like, do you think that's more trustworthy?
I mean, it's going to depend on the pitcher. I don't know. We'll talk about it more tomorrow. We'll see like what that list of pitchers looks like, and I guess I'll put it actually to the test here. But yeah, like I said, I think I have a head-to-head playoffs starting next week. Do I really want to risk it with like Flaherty?
In a head-to-head league? Absolutely.
I guess, but
it's a little scarier in Roto. But
if you're trying to protect ratios, I mean, that's a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's scarier in leagues where you have to protect ratios. Head-to-head, I assume you meant head-to-head points. Did you mean categories?
He makes me want to rip my hair out. Gosh, yeah. Jack Flaherty. All right, well. We'll see. We'll talk more about it tomorrow. Shane Baz remains an enigma, this time at the Angels. 4 innings, 4 runs allowed. Did have 9 strikeouts to 2 walks, but, I mean, gave up more hard contact in this one. Velocity was up, but didn't really matter, obviously. Lots of hard contact against. I just mentioned that with him. 4 starts in the second half, a 9.50 ERA, a 1.89 whip. Scott, buy or sell that Shane Baz is a drop.
Now this is a pitcher that is like, he's frustrated me. He is shaping up to be my next Sonny Gray, which, by the way, that's been a frustration that spanned my entire career and his, because my career outlasts his. But you know, that the Jack Flaherty thing is not a good comparison because it's year after year after year with Sonny Gray. And so maybe Baz is shaping up to be the same way. I don't know. But the ERA is approaching 5 now. The trick of adding a cutter, which worked at first, seemed to work at first. That trick seems to have worn off. 3 of his last 4 starts have been terrible. I don't think you need to use Baz. They're still good in him too, but I don't think he's figured it out yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's 49% started. I don't think there's any way you could start him right now. And if you play in one of those shallow leagues where an Edward Cabrera or Ryan Nelson or Trevor Rogers is still out there, I would make that swap. I would drop Shane Baz for any of those names. I realize it's not many leagues that those 3 are available, but yeah, I would take those 3 over Shane Baz. Trevor Rogers, another quality start this one at the Phillies. 6 innings, 1 run, 6 strikeouts to 2 walks here. And he has turned in 6 straight quality starts. He has allowed 2 earned runs or fewer in 9 of 10 outings. Buy or sell, Trevor Rogers is a must-start pitcher.
Right now, I think you have to buy it. I mean, his last 2 starts were against the Cubs and Phillies, and he dominated both of them, or at least pitched really well in the case of this start against the Phillies. So earlier you could look at the game log and say, yeah, but what happens when he phases a real lineup? Well, we know the answer. He just continues to succeed. So I think the last time we talked about Trevor Rogers, Chris made the point that the skill level may not be high enough for him to remain a plus fantasy option when he isn't pitching impeccably, which it seems like he is right now. Like it's sort of like we say for Ranger Suarez. Like the reason he goes on those runs is because he's just pitching flawlessly, but the skill level isn't enough to make up for pitching less than flawlessly, you know. And Trevor Rogers might be the same way, but right now he's got it going on, so I think he's must start.
All right, and I have two bonus hitter ones here. Are you buying these second halves? Christian Walker so far after the break, 282, 4 homers, 887 OPS, and Michael Harris, 356, 4 homers, 4 doubles, 3 triples, a 1040 OPS. Scott, are you buying into these bounce back second halves for Christian Walker and Michael Harris?
Yes, I'm buying into both of them. I don't find them surprising. A little more surprising in Walker's case because he's 10 years older than Harris. And so there was some fear that maybe he had just aged out of usefulness. But, you know, it's not surprising. It's not surprising that he's bouncing back. And I have him as I believe I have him as a top 15 first baseman going forward. Maybe top 12 if you take out all the catchers who happen to be first base eligible.
All right. Let's run through some leftovers here. And I've got 4 hitters who are trying to break out of slumps here. They all had big games on Wednesday, but I'm not going to read off all the numbers. All these have been scuffling for between like 15 and 40 games. So Trey Turner, Seiya Suzuki, Dansby Swanson, Ian Happ, almost all of them are like must-start players, Scott, but are there any of those 4 that you're actually worried about, the slumps recently?
I would say, I mean, the 2 Cubs, I guess there's 3 Cubs here, right? Yeah. Swanson and Happ, I think, have more downside risk than Turner and Suzuki. So I could see, like, particular, I mean, in a head-to-head league with no middle infield spot, Swanson, I wouldn't say he's must start. In fact, he might be available on the waiver wire in the podcast listeners league as of this moment. I know because I just dropped him. Ian Happ has always been better suited for points leagues because the plate discipline's so good. But even him, 3 outfielder league, you know, I could understand if you want to go with a hotter hand. And he's older than you might think, right? How old is Ian Happ now?
I don't think he hit 30 yet. I could be wrong.
He is 30, but only 30. I was thinking more like 32. Yeah, he's not that old yet. He's probably fine. He's probably fine, but if the upside isn't such that in a 3 outfielder league, you have to stick with him.
We had a rough return for Spencer Arrighetti, who was at the Marlins, 3 2/3 innings, 11 hits, 5 runs allowed, but did have 16 whiffs on 86 pitches here. So a mixed bag, mostly bad. Good to see the whiffs here. I think it's totally understandable. His first start since May, I think, for Spencer Arrighetti. But just last year, had 3 pitches with a whiff rate over 37%. 77% rostered is Arrighetti. Not using him next time out against the Red Sox, but keeping a close eye. And if you added him, I would keep him around and keep him on to see what he does. Yeah,
I'm not. I've had trouble tapping into my feelings for Arrighetti because I did like him. I mean, even going back to the preseason, he was a very trendy sleeper pick, breakout pick to start out. And then it seemed like everybody cooled on him once the Gavin Williamses and the Clay Holmeses emerged in spring training. I think Arrighetti was kind of scuffling in spring training. And so everybody kind of wrote him off at the same time. Then he threw 6 1-hit innings in his season debut. And it's like, oh, the sleeper call was right all along. Then he struggled in his next start and went on the IL. So, I mean, long story short, he was dominant down the stretch last year for the Astros, but it's not like he's a fully formed asset. It's not like we really know what to expect from Arrighetti going forward. Struggled in his rehab assignment, but he comes back. The velocity seems fine. I think he threw 65% of his pitches for strikes, so control wasn't really an issue. 16 whiffs on 86 pitches is awesome. Several of his pitches getting multiple, but then he got knocked around. So it was a mixed bag. Clearly not good enough to start Arrighetti yet, but I do think enough that you probably want to hold on to him because there are enough reasons for optimism there.
All right, some other pitching leftovers. Robbie Ray, a quality start at the Pirates. 6 innings, 2 runs, 8 strikeouts for him. Kevin Gausman, great in Coors Field. 7 innings, 1 run, 8 strikeouts, 15 whiffs here. And he is on one of those streaks again, one of those famous Kevin Gausman streaks. Last 8 starts, 2.54 ERA and a .99 whip. Shohei Ohtani continues to build up as a pitcher. 4 innings, 1 run, 8 strikeouts, 14 whiffs on 54 pitches is actually insane stuff here. So he looked amazing. And George Kirby, very good against the White Sox. 6 innings, 2 runs, 9 strikeouts, 19 whiffs. And last 8 starts for Kirby, 2.66 ERA and a .95 whip. Scott, anything you'd like to add on Kirby, Ohtani, the pitcher? He also homered in this game, by the way. And Gausman and Robbie Ray.
Yeah, Kirby seems back to form. So kind of sneakily, he's gotten back there. Must start moving forward. Not that anybody was sitting him, but you know what I mean. He looks like a stud again. All right, Gausman has been great. So I think we're back to starting him basically, regardless of matchups too. I think it's probably time to start Ohtani again if he's going 4 innings. I mean, the next start might be 5, and then you got a chance at a win. It was an efficient 4 innings in that he only threw 54 pitches, but it is trending up. I think we can actually discuss starting him now. And anything to say about Robbie Ray? Not really. I think he's good, and I think he had a good start.
Some hitting leftovers for Kerry Carpenter up first, turning up the power. He has 4 homers in 9 games since returning from the IL. Spencer Torkelson hitting for a better batting average in the second half. 280 so far. Does have 3 home runs here after the break. Junior Caminero continues to hit for power.
Caminero! Ha, Caminero!
2 for 4 with a double dong. He is up to 30 home runs. The 6th player with 30 homers.
6th player with a 30. He's going to get to 35. I got to say, I mean, the way the Caminero song starts, Can you name the Ray who hit that drive over the fence that makes 35? I went with that number because the original Canyonero song, Can You Name a Truck with 4-wheel drive, smells like a steak and seats 35. I wanted to keep the same number. But I thought it was a tad ambitious, right? 35 in his first full season. Is he honestly going to get there? He's going to get there.
Yeah.
I'm more prophetic than I knew.
How about that? Mike Trout, 2 for 4 with his 20th home run. It's been a weird stretch lately. You know, the power's been a little bit better, but he's striking out a lot. It's a 37% strikeout rate last 22 games for Mike Trout. Nice game for Xavier Edwards, 4 for 5 with his 18th stolen base. Agustin Ramirez, he picked up 2 more steals in this one, has 5 steals in his last 8 games. And Julio Rodriguez continues to impress. Last 22 games for him, 297, 10 homers, 6 steals, and OPS over 1,000. So, and all of a sudden, he's at 21-21. So, I mean, where does it wind up? We have 7 weeks left in the season, something like that. I think J-Rod's going to hit 25-25, and he might even approach 30-30 after a pretty slow start to the season here. Call to the bullpen for the Pirates. Dennis Santana entered in the 8th inning with the bases loaded, 1 out, 1-run lead, gave up a game-tying sac fly, then came out for the 9th inning with the game tied. He gave up 2 more runs, so he took the blown save and the loss. On the other side, Randy Rodriguez pitched a clean 9th inning for his 3rd save, so nice bounce back for Randy. Santana's looked pretty shaky here so far in the 9th inning. For the Guardians, with Cade Smith unavailable, Hunter Gaddis got the final out of that game for his 2nd save of the season. For the Yankees, with almost everybody in their bullpen unavailable, David Bednar recorded the final 5 outs, all via strikeout for his first Yankee save. He was not perfect. He allowed 3 base runners here, but he got the job done. Again, all 5 outs, strikeouts.
47 pitches, right, for Bednar?
Yeah, they don't play tomorrow. Maybe he won't be available Friday either.
He threw nearly as many pitches as Ohtani did.
Yeah, they had nobody. They had nobody left in the bullpen. It was like Weaver, Williams, and Doval worked back-to-back days before this. So
True Yankee, David Bednar.
yeah, my guess is he gets the next save opportunity, but with Aaron Boone, you never know. So we'll see.
If you want to speculate on somebody else in the Pirates bullpen right away, Isaac Matson would be the one. He has numbers nearly as good as Santana. In fact, a better strikeout rate than Santana. He contributed to the terrible inning for the Pirates in this one. So, it's not like he's been showing up Santana lately, but Isaac Matson would probably be next in line if they did decide to make a change.
For the Rangers, just worth mentioning here that Robert Garcia was used in the 7th inning with the game tied, and he gave up a go-ahead home run to Paul Goldschmidt, and he took the loss. So I think Phil Maton probably gets the next save opportunity for the Rangers. For the Rays, Pete Fairbanks struck out one for his 19th save. For the Cardinals, I told you just yesterday, Jojo Romero entered with 2 outs in the 7th inning, down 1 run to face Ohtani. He struck him out. The Cardinals took a 1-run lead. Romero's back out for the 8th. He got 2 outs. He allowed a single. He was relieved by Riley O'Brien, who got the final 4 outs for his first career save. So he's 2% rostered. Any deep league interest in Riley O'Brien for saves?
I really wish his name was Brian O'Reilly, so we could go O'Reilly.
You can still do that with O'Brien.
Yow! Do you know O'Reilly Auto Parts? I don't know how.
Oh, I know. Thankfully, I've never had to go there, but I've heard it many times.
All right.
Nothing.
Riley O'Brien. Maybe he's been decent. Could be him. He's a righty. Jojo Romero, excuse me. They're short on lefties. Maybe.
For the Marlins, Anthony Bender was used in the 6th, Ronnie Enriquez in the 7th, Calvin Fauché in the 8th, and then who got the 9th? It was Luke. Nope, not Luke. Lake. His first name is Lake. Lake Bacher, which is spelled Bachar, in the 9th inning with a 2-run lead and picked up his 2nd save of the season. This is your daily reminder that the Marlins don't have a closer, and they never will ever again. For the Athletics, Sean Newcomb pitched 2 scoreless innings across the 7th and 8th. With the game tied, Michael Kelly allowed a run on 2 hits in the 9th. He took his first loss, and that gives me more confidence in Sean Newcomb moving forward there. For the Nationals, on the other side, it was Jose Ferrer who pitched a scoreless 9th and wound up with the win. So good for him. For the Brewers, Trevor McGill got the 9th with a 2-run lead. He gave up a solo homer, but picked up his 26th save. For the Padres, Robert Suarez was unavailable. Mason Miller got the 9th inning with a 1-run lead. He allowed a walk, but struck out 3 for his 21st. And for the Mariners, Andres Munoz got the 9th inning with a 3-run lead, gave up a solo homer, and then he walked 2. So kind of scary start to the inning. And then he retired the next 3 for his, I didn't write it down, but for another save for Andres Munoz. To stream or not to stream on Thursday, just a 4-game slate. Jacob Lopez at the Nationals, Shane Smith at the Mariners, Brady Singer at the Pirates, Carlos Carrasco against the Marlins.
I feel pretty good about Brady Singer at the Pirates. I could live with Jacob Lopez at the Nationals if I had to.
That lineup is terrible right now. I'm good with it.
Don't want any part of the others.
Agreed. And then on Friday, it's not a great list here. I think Aaron Savali against the Guardians, revenge game. Long time coming revenge game there.
Yeah, 3 scoreless in a row for Savali too.
We have Cam Schlittler against the Astros, Michael McGreevy against the Cubs, JT Ginn at the Orioles.
Not doing it for me. I think I'd just stick with Savali.
I think that is it. We are going to wrap there for Scott. I am Frank. Thanks as always for tuning in to Fantasy Baseball today. Please make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.